All right, thank you, Steph. Happening now in Aurora, a heavy police presence as officers responding to reports of an armed and barricaded person. Let's take you to a live look right now. This is the scene on Child Drive, which is near Henderson and Bathurst. Police and other emergency crews, they have been on scene after being called to this area around 2:30 this morning. Officers are telling people to avoid this area until this situation is resolved. They say there are no public safety concerns at this time. We're continuing to gather information on this, so please do stay with Breakfast Television. We'll bring you more as soon as we have it. Well, just minutes ago, the provincial government launching an online influencer campaign using a familiar face to encourage everyone to stay home. Have a look at this.
I am desperate for things to get back to normal in Ontario. Back to the days when we could eat in a restaurant or go to a show. Back in the good old days when we didn't watch Doug Ford every single day at 1 o'clock.
And the province is encouraging everyone to use the hashtag #StayHomeOn to spread the word. Drivers and transit riders will also notice increased signage, reminding everyone to travel only for essential purposes. Now, in that rant, you also, of course, heard from Rick Mercer there, he included a specific message for young people between the ages of 19 to 29.
Doug Ford is personally imploring you to not hook up. And if you are tempted to do so, just imagine Doug in the room with you, just 6 feet away in a hazmat suit, and he's watching you. And imagine the disappointment on his face.
That is all sorts of weird. Okay, other athletes, artists, and musicians are also joining the call, including the Toronto Raptors and the Ottawa Senators. Now, on a more serious note, we are watching some encouraging signs in the fight against COVID-19, with the holiday spike now behind us.
Our provincial case rate has shown a decline for the first time since mid-November, but it still remains high.
But experts warn regular winter transmission is still high. Ontario reporting 2,632 new cases and 46 more deaths linked to the virus. The average test positivity rate also dropping to 5.3%, down from 6.3% last week. Premier Ford continues to take aim at Pfizer, saying that the delay in shipments is costing lives.
You don't have the ammunition to fight the war per se. And this falls solely on Pfizer. Every day we lose, it's a day we've lost in the war, and it's a death. They were saying they're reconstructing another line in Belgium. I don't buy any of that crap.
Meantime, this morning at 10 o'clock, the Ontario Health Coalition is holding a Zoom press conference backed by 100 organizations and families to address the crisis in the province's long-term care homes, calling on the Premier and Long-Term Care Minister Merrilee Fullerton to take immediate action. Well, with many schools in the province set to reopen on Monday for in-class learning, Sick Kids experts say closing schools should be the last resort. They have now released updated recommendations on how to safely reopen, with an emphasis on robust testing.
We really have not had a robust testing strategy in place.
We don't have the resources to be able to test every single day all 2 million Ontario students. We should be focusing our resources on areas where we're likely to find COVID-19.
Now, the experts saying that schools should be the last to close and the first to open during this health crisis. They also recommended targeted COVID testing. This is a list of the boards that will be opening up on Monday, but several will only reopen a portion of their schools. And the hotspots, of course, are not returning until at least February the 11th. Still no major dates to come yet circled in the calendar. Now, when newly minted President Joe Biden picks up the White House phone today, the first world leader he'll be calling Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And they've got a lot to talk about: the damaged state of U.S.-Canada relations, the vaccine rollout, and Biden's swift cancellation of the Keystone XL pipeline. That was one of the first things the president did Wednesday after being sworn in, axing the $8 billion project. The PM called the move disappointing. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney went further, suggesting a trade war. The pipeline was to carry hundreds of thousands of barrels of Alberta crude daily to the U.S. Well, ahead of what's said to be a damning report on her toxic workplace conduct, Governor General Julie Payette has abruptly resigned. An independent report allegedly finding Payette, a former astronaut handpicked by the Prime Minister, belittled and publicly humiliated staffers. Other employees at previous workplaces claimed the same thing. Her top assistant also stepped down. Payette is not just the Queen's representative. She's also the Commander-in-Chief of Canada's Armed Forces. The PM reacted to the news, saying every employee in the Government of Canada has the right to work in a safe and healthy environment, and we will always take this very seriously. Payette, in her own release, said, "We all experience things differently, but we should always strive to do better and to be attentive to another's perceptions." Now, in just a few minutes, we're going to be hearing from a U of T expert on what this all means for the future of the Governor General's role. Well, as the pandemic continues to impact every aspect of our lives, students across the GTA and beyond are settling into weeks of more remote learning, as we've just told you. So how is it impacting their education and their mental health? We're going to be checking back in with 2 Toronto District School Board grade 12 students to see how they're holding up. And that's at 7:30 this morning, plus a look at some of our other segments coming up for the day. And coming up next, in business, say it ain't so. Come on, the end of the line for Godiva chocolate stores? Closing up shops? Mike Epple probably hoarding up all the chocolates now. We'll be right back.